Real low tech there. Yep. This is Keith F. Shovlin, publisher of aois21 Media, and this is Ask aois21 on the 21st. We do this every month at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Oh, welcome, Marty. Welcome to Periscope. So we do this live broadcast on YouTube and Periscope, in which I take questions. In past, it's been primarily about writing, editing, and marketing books, but now we're also talking podcasts and video series as well. So any questions you might have, you can share it on, it'll pop up on the screen on Periscope. It'll pop up on the screen on YouTube. You can tweet to us at aois21 or just use the hashtag AskAOS21 and we'll be ready. Let me just make sure I do the invites here. Now we should be on the better microphone. You should hear me loud and clear on YouTube. Oh, how you doing? Making sure everything's just getting blasted here. Sharing on Facebook. Hold on. Yeah, that's one key thing about when podcasts and video series. Make sure you get word of mouth out there. People know that you're doing it. We have our weekly email that we announced it on. We tweet about it, do posts about it. No, we're actually live. Just making sure that everything's covered here. There we go. Broadcasting there. Don't broadcast on Facebook Live because it's really difficult to broadcast on Facebook Live and Periscope. And we've already got a following on Periscope going, so we kind of like working with them. We have done Facebook Live stuff in the past. It's a good system. Just, hi, how you doing? This is the June 2017 edition of Ask aois21 on 21st. I'm Keith Shovlin, publisher of aois21 Media. We are an independent media company based out of Mount Vernon, Virginia. We currently have 17 book titles available from 13 different authors. We have 7 podcast series and 4 video series going. And we've had, range of success with different things. So I'm here to take questions, anything you might want to ask about getting into writing a book, getting into podcasting, getting into making video series. It's in the case of podcasting and video series, a lot of good stuff out there already, but I'm here to answer any questions you might have. You can type them out there on the screen. We've got group chat on YouTube. We got the little chat feature on Periscope. And then, of course, you also tweet to us at aois21 or use the hashtag AskAOS21. Checking the Twitter real quick. All right, we got everything being promoted there. Good, good, good. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see notifications if you're not logged in. That's one. Always have the Twitter account logged in, but does not always show up. All right, checking the hashtag. Nothing currently there. So this is the second time that we've done an episode where since we expanded to include podcasts and video series and talking about putting those together. Right. Like I said, we have 7 podcast series currently going. Well, one is currently on summer hiatus, and we're looking at starting another one soon. And they range from the weekly, literally this week, literary news podcast, to there's monthly podcasts like the World's Only Podcast, which is a news commentary, and there's an interview series called I Stand, and we're looking at launching another podcast series in the fall. And we have a poetry podcast that comes out every 3 weeks called Passion on the Page. And if you decide that you want to do a podcast series, now you could do a video podcast, you could do just an audio podcast. If you don't like to be on screen, then audio podcast may be fine. If you want to do something where you're talking music, you're talking things where you don't need a visual element, you might as well podcast is a good way to start out. And if you worry a bit about stage fright or anything, having the audio setup of a podcast may be very good at calming nerves and everything. So when you I have the idea to launch a podcast, first thing to consider, audio or video. But really, that's not even the first thing, because the first thing you gotta consider is, what is your podcast going to be about? You can't some people have had success just getting up there and talking, but even then, it's to try to have something specific to talk about. I mean, I look at the podcasts I listen to every day. There are ones where it's reviewing a TV show. I listen to West Wing Weekly, where they go over every episode of The West Wing. I listen to Mission Log, where they go over every episode of Star Trek. There are ones that are going for shows that are currently on the air. Like I listen to Radio Free Scaro that does reviews of Doctor Who. And so those all have a mission based off of a product that somebody else creates. Then there are ones where you kind of create your own thing, like say Nerdist, where they interview celebrities, and or occasionally they have hostfuls where they talk about things going on in their lives. Sports podcasts I listen to 2 hockey podcasts. There's Puck Podcast, which is viewing hockey from a national lens. Then there's the Breakout Podcast, which views hockey from the extremely focused lens of being primarily a Pittsburgh Penguins hockey podcast. Then there's educational podcasts like Hardcore History by Dan Carlin, Stuff You Should Know by Josh and Chuck from Discovery. Well, not Discovery, but How Stuff Works. Once upon a time, they're part of Discovery. Let me think, what else? What else do I listen to? We've got Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's very educational. I used to listen to, and there's a few different interview series that have come and gone. Like there was Girl on Guy with Aisha Tyler, which is unfortunate. For some reason, it reloaded, turned off the camera, and muted the microphone. But we're back on YouTube now. We're still on Periscope, so you can catch us either place. So you have the idea you want to do a podcast. You have a story you want to tell, and you don't necessarily want to write it down. Acting it is a step too far, so you want to tell the story, and you would do that through audio. You could do a storyteller podcast. There's a few, something like Serial or some of the others where they're actually each week is a different part of the series. Then you have things where it's, you're following other tales and trying to tell past stories of things or just talking about things you care about. All things to consider if you're deciding to launch a podcast series. Now, what you want to do once you have the idea, you have a podcast series, you think you've got something that you can talk about in a way that's engaging and talk in a way that people will want to hear your opinion. Now, how much content do you actually have? Is it something you can maintain over a certain course of time? Now, I'm not saying if you want to do a podcast, you have to start immediately with 5 or 6 episodes, but you should have a plan for 5 or 6 episodes. And if it's something you think you can maintain for a while, and then you have to have the question of frequency. You don't want to jump right in with something that you claim will be weekly, or even worse, daily, and then not have enough content to get past 3 episodes. Because suddenly you have 3 episodes out there. If it's daily, you're not, you only lasted 3 days. If it's weekly, you've only lasted 3 weeks. And if you finished it after 3 weeks and you haven't had any more ideas for more content, then that's not good. But if you do monthly, then if you have enough stuff to get you through 3 months, then hopefully over those 3 months, you've had enough time to develop more ideas. And plus, with having something that's monthly, you have the benefit of being able to get feedback, and whether it be by friends, family, or just overall listeners, you can kind of find a gear to keep going with other things. So now you've got your topic. You've decided audio versus video. You've got content, hopefully. And now you're deciding on frequency. So now that's stuff taken into account for this podcast series. Now you need to figure out the dynamics of making it happen. You don't need to go out immediately and buy the nicest microphone, or buy audio editing software, or pay for a Libsyn account, or any of the top audio hosting sites. You can start things out very cheaply. You can use, and I wouldn't recommend it too much, Pipishka. Okay. You can use the microphone on your computer, or better, to use the one on your phone. You can, and if you get very good at it, you could probably read it into your phone or onto your computer and not have to do too much editing. There's free software out there for audio editing. You don't have to always buy stuff. I know we use Audacity for a lot of our audio editing, and that's completely free software. Okay. Didn't know what it meant the first time. Still don't know what it means this time. Sorry. Then becomes actually sharing it with people, because you can't just drop an audio file on the web and expect people to listen to it. So that's where you have take into account hosting sites. Now, there are several good hosting sites out there. The best and most well-known is Libsyn, but Libsyn has a cost to it. Even the most basic user has to pay to use Libsyn. So if you're starting out and not sure how you're going to go with this, and you don't want a high amount of cost and setup, then you want to use one of the services that offers free minutes, free storage. And there are ones out there that we use for a lot of our podcasts. We use Podomatic. For our poetry podcast, we use SoundCloud. SoundCloud has storage is based on minutes, while Podomatic is based on file size. And of course, if you have, the key thing about there is, like, if you have just someone talking or someone playing music, right, or just very basic audio quality, then it's not that big of a file size. But if you have a lot of stuff to it, a lot of different channels and everything, then it takes up more space. Then having a site where it goes by minutes, it's a lot easier, and you use them up less quickly. So you try to figure out a good hosting site. The key one is a hosting site that will give you an RSS feed, and then you have the ability to get your podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play. The key one, though, is iTunes. About 75% of all podcast listeners listen to podcasts on iTunes. Now, I'm not the only one saying this. There's a lot of people that have more expert experience on podcasts than me. I'm just the guy that's talking right now. And for those watching, yeah, I'm just the guy you're listening to. But I've had a lot of experience launching podcast series, producing podcasts. The key one you have to start with is make sure you're on iTunes, or iTunes is the application. Of course, they've kind of rebranded and calling it Apple Podcasts now. But that's where you're going to reach about 75% of the podcast listening audience. Then there's some other great sites out there. We've had a lot of success working with Stitcher Radio, Google Play, TuneIn, Duroc. And then there are other hosting sites. I know iHeartRadio will accept some podcasting. I'm sorry, I don't understand that. Yeah, and if I'm imagine it means something, but it doesn't mean anything to me. I'm sorry. Ah, okay. See, my primary language is English, then bad English. Then je parle français et je t'écoute, but not Russian. Sorry. I have some friends out there. So, where was I? So now you find a hosting site that will. Oh, I'm sorry. I considered learning Russian at one point, but learning the whole new alphabet was a bit more of a challenge than I was willing to take on. So you find a hosting site. Prefer if you're just starting out, you're getting your feet wet, you're not sure how it's going to work out too well. It's good to use a hosting site that offers you a free account, at least at the beginning. I know Podbean offers an account for a certain, it's like you have a real short amount of space or time to use. I think same with Spreaker. Podomatic, we've had a lot of success with because they offer you up to 500 gigs of free space. So that's a good one to start out. So basically, at this point, if you're producing a podcast series, all you've really spent is your time. Hopefully, you already have a computer or a phone to record on. Audio software, like I said, Audacity is free. You go with somebody like SoundCloud or Podomatic or Podbean, you can get a free account. All you're spending so far is your time. Now, over time, if you have success or you really get into it or even if you're really lucky and able to get sponsors, then you can up your game a little bit. You go to Libsyn, you go and buy an actual microphone. Like I got here my Blue Snowball. There are other good like condenser mics and everything, and of course having a pop filter and an actual stand to put the microphone on, so it's not just sitting on a table. There's some great audio editing software that allows you to do wonderful things, adding in music and sound effects and really working with cleaning up audio. Audacity's been great for doing the layers and creating the files, but there are a lot of others out there that allow you to do a lot more. So, but it's just a good start. So. Just checking real quick around the Twitters and Facebooks. Okay. Now I saw, and was it something today from Society of Professional Journalists that podcasting is continuing to grow more and more. Let's see. Yeah, monthly podcast listeners have grown 15% since 2008, according to the Pew Research Center. Well, there's a lot of people, older people, who grew up on radio dramas and have now learned that radio dramas are still around. They're just on the computer now. They're on the internet now, and they're called podcasts. So that's great that people are finding those again, finding podcasts, finding audio entertainment again. And obviously the radio is still around, but not nearly as much as it used to be. And as I like to say, video may have killed the radio star, but the internet has brought him back. So it's all about finding your story, what you want to say, what you want to talk about, or what you want to invite people to talk about. And then going from there in finding out how to get it out there, the way that is the most economical, the way that works best for you. And I know with our podcast series, it's been some cases of people having some interest in maybe doing something, or some that have come to us with the idea, this is what I want to do. All I need is your help with production. And we've done that, finding good deals on hosting, finding, being able to do the audio production work. And there's a lot of stuff that when we started on podcasting, I did all the audio work myself. I had done very little audio work years and years and years ago. So I got into it, and my dad was used to work in radio and was able to give me advice on maintaining levels and watching for certain issues. And of course, he never did digital audio work, so it's been slightly different experience for me. But having people around that could give you advice on things like that is very, very useful. And then once you get ready to get going, then just promote the hell out of it. I mean, you are your biggest cheerleader. You are the voice, so you are the one that has to do the hardest work, which means getting out there and talking about what you want about your series, posting on social media. Oh, welcome. Another person, first day on Periscope. Get a Facebook page, launch a Twitter account, whether either for you or your podcast specifically. Even make a Google Plus page. Anything to really ramp up your hits on Google, because when someone goes to search for things, you want to be found. And the number of places you distribute to. If you start with iTunes, obviously someone will be able to search you on iTunes. But being on Google Play and being on Stitcher and being on TuneIn also helps, because that hopefully opens you up to finding a larger audience. So you want to be everywhere you can be. One thing that's nice is once you do the initial legwork of setting up the accounts, every time you post an episode, it posts everywhere. So it's not like you have to do more work to get your each episode on each site. If you're using a good hosting site, it should automatically update all the others that you're now have one episode. All right, so now it's 8:56 Eastern Time. We're going to wrap this up in a couple minutes. So this is your last chance to get a question in. Like I said, anything you want to ask about, writing a book, producing a podcast, or really producing a video series. Try to have a good amount of information on all those things. I've had a lot of experience doing a few of those over the years. I used to do video series back in high school, which is 16, 17 years ago now. Let's check it out. No questions on Facebook. Oh, Periscope's got a new shorter URL. No questions on Google Hangouts. And no questions on Twitter. I see we still got a couple people watching on Periscope. Thank you for watching. If you've been here for longer than just a couple seconds, thank you. And we do this every month on the 21st of the month. So tonight is Wednesday, June 21st. We'll be back, I believe it's Friday, July 21st will be the next episode, where I'll probably be, since this one was predominantly talking about podcasts, next one will be talking more about video series. In the past, we've had all of the past episodes are on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/aois21. And I've talking about book events and marketing and cover design. Because, as I said up until last month, all of these episodes, all of these Q&As were focused around book promotion and production. There's a lot of people out there that are self-publishers, that are creators, that have stories they want to tell and just need that little bit of advice, a little bit of help. And that's what I'm trying to offer here. So thank you for watching. Like, share, tell your friends, and rate us. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you like, if you think something should be done different. I welcome constructive criticism, always. Constructive criticism, key difference there. Yeah. All right. So 8:59, just basically counting down the seconds now. I'm going to have a slight little bit of water to drink. All right. Forgive the background noise. It's late. My kids are getting ready for bed. All right. So find us on the YouTube channel. And of course, anything we broadcast on Periscope, it stays on Periscope as well. This is one of several video series that we offer from aois21. We also have Creative Speaking, our author interview series. It comes out on the 14th of every month, where we did long form interviews with each of our, well, several of our authors, and we release it one question at a time over the course of several months. We have aois21 Live whenever we have events, like we had the Gaithersburg Book Festival back in May. We had a couple videos that we did there. Coming up next is Virginia Comic-Con in Richmond, July 8th and 9th. And we'll be doing several videos there for the video series, because what we're going to do is interviewing cosplayers and getting them to tell their stories about putting their costumes together. So if you're in the Richmond area, we'll be there July 8th and 9th. It's our first 2-day event, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we'll be interviewing cosplayers throughout the day. Hopefully we'll have, we've had some epic cosplay the last couple ones we went to, so hopefully it continues this time. And then the other video series we have is called aois21 Unboxed, and it's quite simply, we get stuff in the mail, books, merchandise, and we unbox them, and then we post the videos. Because I was surprised to see how much people like watching unboxing videos. And amazingly, my kids really love watching them. I think so. We started posting some of our unboxing videos as well, and gotten some good feedback. All right, well, that's it for tonight. That's it for this month. It is now 2100 hours in the East Coast here in the United States. So for aois21, I'm Keith F. Shovlin, publisher. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for commenting. And we'll see you next month.